Welcome to the Rise Above Show with Patricia Jo Grover, where we rise above our challenges and turn believers into achievers. And today, my guest is Lynda Katz Wilner. And let me tell you a little bit about Lynda. Now, she is an MS, CCP, and an SLP in speech, language, and soft skills. She's an executive coach, a professional speaker, and a speech and language pathologist in the Baltimore, Washington metropolitan area. She is the founder and director of Successfully Speaking, a woman-owned communication consulting firm that helps individuals speak, sound, and look like leaders. This includes professional speaking skills, professional image, listening skills, voice improvement, and regional dialect and foreign accent modification. She provides public speaking classes to individuals and companies. Lynda works with professionals speaking classes to individuals and their companies. Lynda works with professionals who are looking to increase their ability to communicate effectively up, down, and across their organizations. Well, welcome to the show, Lynda.
Thank you, Patty. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. And right now we have so many people doing their work and operating their businesses via the internet and everything. So it is great to have those tools and learn to make it better for everyone.
And it's interesting, Patty, that you say that. I've been doing virtual training for over 15 years. So when we had to move over toward virtual training, we just didn't always call it virtual. I called it online training.
Right.
But now the buzzword is the virtual training. But my clients have been all around the world, so I've always done this.
Yeah.
It's just an expansion. Now I don't get to the workplace to work with people. People don't come into my physical office. But I'm still working with the same people, doing the same things, but now everybody's doing it that way.
Right, and fantastic. And we don't know when things open up back up again, we don't know how many people are going to still be doing it the way that everybody's getting used to now. So, and what you're doing is providing a wonderful service. There are so many people, myself, included, that I'm always trying to improve, and every single one of us, there has to be that need or desire to grow. Both personally and professionally.
And me too. We're
Right.
always trying to get better.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever get to the goal line. It keeps shifting and moving back, so we have to go further.
Exactly.
And I think that's learning.
Exactly. And knowing, some things are in our own lane, and that's good, and they're just outside of to give us a stronger noting what we are doing. But some things, the technical things, are kind of outside my lane. So I try to do some things and learn, but some things will never make any sense for me to try to do them.
Well, that's why we get people to help us. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, so fantastic. So let me find out a little bit more, because you deal with people that speak different languages, and I know you and I had chatted about that before, and that is something that it's hard to communicate. I just know from going to doctors' offices and such, when they're talking and they're trying to explain something, you and I said it makes sense for them to learn, so that it makes for everybody to be able to understand what they're trying to get across.
And the fact that you mentioned that's actually where I got started thinking about this specialty, because I'm a speech and language pathologist by training. Been doing that for many decades. And back in the 80s, when I was working in a hospital, I saw the challenge of communication when physicians were international and speaking English as a second language. Their clinical skills were excellent, but when they had to get up and speak to either their patients or grand rounds or presentations, all of a sudden people had trouble understanding them. And my patients would tell me, because I was their speech pathologist. And I think the challenge is when you have authority figures who you don't want to insult or correct or give that feedback. And I've seen this with doctors, and I've seen it with international priests who I also work with.
Oh, okay.
The person will never say, I don't understand you. They don't want to insult them. And that's a cultural difference too. But I saw how that was breaking down communication and breaking down healthcare and breaking down patient satisfaction on their surveys and breaking down just the rapport. And so that's, Patty, that's where I started, helping physicians and nurses, I don't say eliminate their accent, but modify their accent so that they're understood. So when they tell a nurse that the patient should have 50 milligrams of a medication, they hear it, is it 50 or 15?
That's correct. Yeah.
And if they're making those mistakes, those are serious problems.
Oh,
and so that's how I got interested in accent modification, as well as the regional dialects as we move around the country and live different places. Sometimes our accent, which may be fine at home, becomes a distraction when we're speaking. And I was victim of that when people said that to me. I was a transplanted New Yorker. And I started to see that people respond to how you sound and they forget to listen to what you're trying to tell them. And it's a distraction.
That is so true. And really, for the viewers and listeners to take this in, it was out of a necessity that you found that you created what you do for your job, for your career. And so many people right now, with what we've had going on with the global pandemic, are having to do that for themselves now. Mm-hmm. So necessity is the mother of invention.
It gave me the shift because I did all clinical work for many years. And I still can do clinical work. I'm licensed and certified by my national association. But my passion shifted. So although I love to help people who had a stroke or who had head and neck cancer or a spinal cord injury or who stuttered or whatever those problems were, my passion was to help them communicate. And all of a sudden, when I started working with accents, people said, well, can you help American-born speakers communicate better? I said, well, of course I can do that. So the passion that I have to help people transferred into the corporate and the everyday world. Whereas initially I worked with people with communication disorders. Now I just work on helping people polish their communication skills. So it was a natural shift, but the passion, or what brought me in the field to begin with, is the same. It's helping people communicate and gain confidence in who they are and how they project themselves.
Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. So that actually comes into my next question is, what is unique about your approach to public speaking?
That's a wonderful question, because many people talk about just get out there, just own your story, have confidence, and of course that's true. But I look at communication as 3 V's.
Okay.
The visual, how you look. How do you carry yourself? What's your body language like? What's your eye contact, your facial expressions, your gestures? That's all visual. And now in the virtual world, it's a little different than it was in the real world, because the eye contact's different. Virtual is how you come across visually is so important. What's your background visually? Is it cluttered? Do you look professional? Do you see my ceiling when you're looking at me, or do I know how to set up a camera, which you know as well? So visual is a very important part of communication. My sweet spot is the vocal. How do you sound? Do you have an accent? Do you have trouble pronouncing words? Do you have the uptalk and you're talking like this and I don't sound as credible if I speak this way? Do I have a very low pitched voice like this, what we call that fry? And a lot of younger people are doing this. How am I going to be perceived or even heard? Do I speak too fast? Do I speak too slowly? All of those, Patty, are vocal.
Right.
And I have the technical skills to improve that. So if you can't project your voice, I don't say, just talk louder. There's a way to do it with your breath. So I believe that I add the technical piece, not just the supportive, psychologically supportive piece. And then the third part, Patty, is the verbal, which is what most people think about. What are your words? What do you say? Are you grammatically correct? Do you speak succinctly? Or when I'm done listening to you, do I say, what was the point? What was she saying?
Right.
Because so many of us get off topic. And so I have a strategy to help people speak succinctly.
Fantastic.
I actually call that ties. Know your topic, know your objective, introduce it, which is the I. E, give some examples. And here's the one almost everybody forgets. The S is summarize what you're saying. Like, what do you want to do? What do I want you to do with that information? So the summary, and in my classes, most people say, I always forget the summary. And so I help with the ties. So my approach, back to the original question, is the way I look at it, we have 3 V's. They need to be in alignment because you can look professional, you can sound professional, but if you don't get to the point, it doesn't work. Or you can speak beautifully, you have a very organized message and look great, but if your voice is hard to understand for whatever reason, it doesn't work. And everybody knows the situation where they've met somebody by telephone. They sounded great, their voice sounded great, they were organized. And when they met in person, person doesn't look like the person they thought. And so if that's happening, where our V's are out of alignment. Right. And so the goal is to make them balanced, and so that you come across in a polished, consistent, credible manner.
Oh, and all that makes so much sense, Lynda. That's fantastic. Great tips.
And the people I work with say, yeah, that does make sense. So now they know I'm really good with my verbal and I'm really good with my visual, but my vocal is holding me back. Mm-hmm. Like somebody who may have a heavy accent where it's interfering. Patty, I do want to say that I never want people to eliminate their accents. We all have accents. We all have a cultural identity, whether it's within the United States or internationally. And that's not my goal. I'm not trying to make everybody sound the same. But if I don't understand you, or I'm not getting the business I want because people aren't getting my speech patterns, or they're distracted by it, then we work on that. But I'm not looking to eliminate people's culture, because that's how we're different, and we want to embrace that.
Right, and that is so true, and we see it every day. So, great tips. And so let me ask you that, though, Lynda, when you are doing and working with a client, how much time do you need hearing them speak or watching them do a presentation? Do you need to be able to put together what you recommend for them?
What I usually do, Patty, is when somebody's working one-on-one with me, I would do an hour, 15-minute assessment, and I video them speaking. I go through it, depending if it's an accent, there's much more, there are more thorough testing that I do. And after I work with them, then I write up a report and talk about exactly what I see and what the goals are. And it's very gratifying for them to say, you nailed it. That's exactly what my problem is. And then we can systematically go through it. Some people just have a speech they want me to coach them on. So I might just work with them for that hour. Okay. They may not be looking for that full evaluation, just help with their speech. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I even do master classes where I have 5 people together, and I do this virtually now, prior to COVID, because this way we get people from all around the world. And we talk about their public speaking skills and help them balance those 3 V's, use the ties message, and become comfortable and deal with nervousness, which is so common, and help them with that. And that's just a 2-hour process. So there are different ways, depending on the time people have, and of course the money, on how much they want to invest on improving their communication skills.
That's so wonderful. Great. So can you ask me, No, I want to ask you because I'm so excited about this. Who is Ms Persnickety? I want to know.
Okay. I actually just launched a new book. I have several books that I've published on accent modification, but I wanted something for everybody. And Ms Persnickety is my alter ego. Actually, the funny thing, Patty, is the first graduate student I ever supervised in speech pathology said to me one day, you're very Persnickety. And I thought, ooh, that's interesting. Well, over the years, I am very Persnickety because that's what people pay me to do, to listen to how they sound. Mm-hmm. And one part of it is how we speak. Now, there is that regional dialect variation, but there are many words that even very educated people say which aren't correct. So how many people do you know say, I need work on my pronunciation. There's no such word as pronunciation, it's pronunciation. But I have to tell you, people with PhDs are making these mistakes. We're saying things like anyways. Or what about me and Patricia are going to have this interview? No, it's Patricia and I,
right.
and Patty and I.
Right.
So I put these together in a book of misspeaks. And it's so much fun because it's every, the common things that we hear every day, but to bring it to somebody's attention that that's not exactly how you say it.
Right.
So it's a fun book. And then I also have an audio that they can go to a platform once if they have the book. And on that platform, it's very interactive. So people can polish their pronunciation and their grammar because and I catch myself. So Ms Persnickety has become my alter ego. She has a picture. You can see what she looks like. And she's going to be posting a lot on LinkedIn and Facebook about things she still hears every day because it doesn't stop at 60 words.
Right.
It comes up every day.
Fantastic. Oh, that is fantastic. You know, Lynda, the thing is, as humans, I think it's more American. I really do think it's more American. We have a lot of slang. We have a lot of slang, and it just infiltrates our language and our communication style. So definitely, I think that's a benefit, especially when we're trying to come off and we're in a professional level. That's where we need to track that.
I'm so glad you said that, Patty, because we do switch the ways we speak depending who our audience is. I was shocked when I heard my husband early when I first met him get on a sales call. And his grammar and speech changed completely. And I thought, who is this person? And he explained to me that in sales, this was early in my career, in sales, you want to speak or mirror the way other people are speaking to connect with them. So sometimes that dialect works. But then if you want to go for a job interview, depending where the job is, or you need to speak to the CEO or your manager, you want to just know where the bar is. How can I elevate it when I want to? But sometimes it's okay not to. I have my casual speech. When I'm tired, I drop into some of my New Yorkese when you're not thinking. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's a distraction, I don't want to use it in certain situations. And I really want people to understand that because I'm not judging. I'm just saying, here's the bar when you want to reach that high level, but doesn't mean you always have to speak that way.
Exactly. And great tips. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation. And I hope our viewers and listeners are getting the concept of this. Wonderful. So what aspects of communication do you specifically address? You know, the stuff we've talked about already, but are there others that we haven't mentioned?
There are actually, because I work one-on-one, I work with groups, I speak at associations, I give talks at companies. Sometimes at an annual meeting, they may bring me in to talk. And so I talk a lot about those 3 V's because that applies to everybody. But on the flip side, since I'm a communication specialist, I focus a lot on listening skills because most of us do not listen. And I have an OLE, you hear lots of acronyms I'm using, but an OLE approach to communication, which tells people to observe, listen, and then engage. That's an important skill set for leaders. That's an important skill set to maintain civility in our everyday life.
Yes.
That's a great skill set for parents to have with their children, and of course children to have with their parents. But if we don't listen, and Larry King, who passed away recently, that was his quote, if I'm going to learn something every day, I'm going to do it by listening, not talking. I paraphrased it a bit. But listening is the skill, I would say, that most of us are lacking because we were never taught that skill in school. And so, yes, I do a lot with voice, and I do a lot with accent, and I do a lot with just the nervousness of public speaking. But the listening has become a big factor. So I can't emphasize enough, and I think more people want me to talk about that today than they do about just the speaking. Because a lot of people talk about speaking. Not a lot of people are focusing on the listening. And even today with diversity, equity, and inclusion, listening is the key skill you can develop to move into that direction.
Oh, that's great. Great tips, Linda. Oh my goodness. So let me ask you another. So who are your typical clients?
Well, I don't want to say everybody, but it is
But
everybody.
exactly.
But to be more specific, that we already mentioned in healthcare, doctors and nurses, international clergy. I've been doing work for over 15 years with priests from India. And a lot of people have the experience that my priest is lovely. He's such a nice person, but when he gives the homily, I don't understand him.
Right, right. Okay, yes.
So I help them polish their skills to deliver better sermons. So it's doctors, it's priests, scientists. A lot of scientists are international. And when they have to present their research, not only do they may have difficulty with their public speaking skills, but the accent is a piece. So my sweet spot is helping people when they have to deliver scientific presentations. I can address the accent as well. And that also goes for startups who are in pitch competitions, whether they're American born or international.
Right.
I help them with their pitches. I do a lot of coaching with pitch competitors. And then there's the person who's moving up in their organization, wherever they are, and they say, I just don't sound professional, or I'm not confident. And so sometimes they come to my master classes, or sometimes they take a whole executive presence package that I have to help them navigate those areas. And it's everything I do, Patty, is customized. Okay. So whatever they need to work on, we do that. We video. Sometimes they also come to my master classes. And so I feel it sounds flippant to say everybody, but the professions I mentioned are the most common, right. But anybody can benefit. You know, somebody in job interviews.
Oh,
children graduating from college who need help, not children, adults graduating from college who need help in their interviews.
Exactly.
So any place along the spectrum of trying to get jobs, trying to be successful, moving up in your career, I can work with all of them.
And I can definitely see that. I can see the benefit of that for so many people. Mm-hmm. So tell me more interesting stories about your clients, because now you got me wondering.
Well, there are after over 25, I'll say 25, it's even more than that, years, I have so many stories. And the best thing is, Patty, I learn so much from my clients. I learn so much from their questions, from their mistakes, because it helped. Like I love when somebody misunderstands or there's a breakdown in communication. I love it because I look to see what broke down and why, and that can help me help them. So something as simple as a client saying, using an idiom incorrectly. Like we say out of the blue, we'd say that naturally. Right. But if somebody said on the blue or with the blue, it doesn't make sense. So I've had lots of those anecdotes. Again, I don't share specific things about clients, of course, because of the confidentiality. And I actually left out lawyers, by the way. Let me mention lawyers as well.
That would be huge. Right.
They have to speak. But I've had so many fascinating stories of people giving a speech or a priest giving a sermon and thinking it's important to put a joke in the beginning. And the joke has nothing to do with the content of the rest of the sermon. And it could be offensive to people. Or changing the subject of the joke from a lawyer, which could be poking fun, to a bishop, which may not be poking fun.
Yes.
But we have cultural differences. So what works in one country may not work here in the United States. So there have been so many situations where people have those oops, and I can give them feedback. And it helps me learn from it and then tell the next client or help the next client understand the parameters. So that's one of the big things. I'll tell you one other tip for people giving speeches.
Yes.
Very often people will say, I'm going to start with a story, or I'm going to start with a joke.
Okay, so you mean, let me clarify though, when I'm going to get this. So you're saying people are saying, let me start with. Okay,
yes.
that's what okay.
I'm the speaker, and I'm saying, good afternoon, I'm Lynda Katz Wilner. I'm going to start with a story.
Okay.
Why do you have to tell your speakers that you're going to start with a story? start with a story.
Okay.
So I might say, I'm Lynda Katz Wilner. The other day, I was walking down the street and heard somebody say, that's so much more empowering and memorable than telling the people what you're going to do. I think that may have been the older form of public speaking, maybe a decade ago. Now we jump in and we interact and we get people to engage by telling you what I'm going to do is removing me from the situation. And then I jump in. Why do that?
Right. Oh, that's a great tip, Lynda. Thank you for sharing that. Because again, what we've learned previously doesn't necessarily mean it works in today's world. So wonderful.
And Patty, another thing is, this is a pet peeve of mine. And now, since I am Ms Persnickety, I have a lot of pet peeves, but now I'm owning them.
Right.
But this is Ms Persnickety talking, right? Not Lynda. Very often people introduce themselves and they'll say, hi, my name is Lynda Katz Wilner. Another way I could introduce myself is, hi, I'm Lynda Katz Wilner. Which one engages more?
The second one.
Yeah, it's a conversation.
Right.
But so many of us fall back like, okay, I have to say who I am. My name is, and that sounds so mechanical.
Right.
It doesn't sound engaging.
You are right.
So remember, even if it's a Zoom call or it's a formal, we're always doing public speaking. We want to engage. We don't want to just talk. We want to listen, but we want to engage. And by stepping back and being formal and talking a certain way from a template, doesn't engage.
Right.
And we have Zoom fatigue, so we have to do something different. Don't we?
Right, exactly. But something else I wanted to bring for our viewers and listeners to think about is that no matter what you're doing, any form of sales, you may want to think about how you're approaching your topic, because we are all salespeople. No matter what we're trying to sell, we are selling ourselves, and how we come across is a form of sales. So look at using Lynda's tips, and is a beneficial thing to do. Definitely.
We can always get better, and sales is a big part of it. In
Right.
sales, you're dealing with people all the time. How you communicate, and more so, how you listen. Let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. I was just in a meeting and people were saying it's so frustrating when people connect with me on LinkedIn and then the next thing they do is they try to pitch something to me. That's not how we're supposed to communicate. We need to know people, get to know people,
Right.
help them, and then eventually they build trust in us. Then we might sell something. Because we, like you said, we are all selling, but we can't be pushy because people will step back as soon as we do that. We don't seem authentic.
Right. And I've noticed that myself on LinkedIn. Some people have the pre-programmed whatever. As soon as you connect, I mean, it's in your inbox before you even, and it's like, oh, that's not growing the know, like, and trust factor that I like to work with myself.
Sure.
It is all about that. Wonderful. Well, thank you for all these wonderful tips, Lynda. So do you have any gifts you want to give our viewers and listeners today?
I do. Well, one thing I thought would be a great gift is I do have monthly master classes. And when I have these master classes, it's only 5 people in the class, so that you're not just hearing me talk. We're having conversations and everybody's getting a chance to practice the 3 V's, to practice the ties, and also to help each other and give feedback and realize they're not alone in their concerns.
Exactly.
And so for that class, I'd like to offer a $25 discount. It's a 2-hour class where there's a lot of value, of course, in that. But I'd like to offer for any of your viewers a $25 discount for the course. It's a one-time 2-hour class. And all they have to do is use the coupon code GROVER.
All right.
And they can get the discount. It's on my website, which is successfully-speaking.com.
Wonderful.
Right on the homepage, you can find my master classes, link to it, and use that code.
Wonderful. So successfully /
Right. Hyphen. It depends our age, whether it's a hyphen.
a / or but a hyphen.
No,
Okay.
it's a hyphen
Okay.
or a dash. When I
Okay.
say hyphen, some people would say, is that like underscore? No.
Right.
Successfully-speaking.com.
Wonderful. And the code word is Grover.
Grover, Grover. They should not forget that.
They
But
should. They should not.
That will give them $25 off.
Wonderful, and thank you. I'm sure we'll have viewers and listeners take you up on that, Lynda.
And when they go there, they'll also get to meet Ms Persnickety. So that's something they can check out too. It's all on the homepage.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And for everyone, this has been the Rise Above show, where we rise above our challenges, which we all do have them, and we turn believers into achievers. We know that you're worthy and that you're capable and that you're not in this alone, So to find out more about me, you can go to patriciajogrover.com, and I have gifts for everyone if you want to text the word GOAL, GOAL, to 26786. Thank you again for being with me, Lynda, and everybody, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Patty. It was a pleasure speaking with you.